Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here. In this video we're talking about Nintendo Switch, 3DS, Gamecube and Wii and more. Let's get started. Alright, we'll kick things off here talking about Gamecube and Wii emulation with Dolphin UWP. Now for those who may be unaware, UWP stands for Subscribe to Mr. Sujano, or it stands for Universal Windows Platform, depending on how you want to interpret that. If you've got an Xbox Series X and S and use it for emulation, you might want to pay attention to this one. A brand new version just dropped yesterday, and there's a brand new front end. So with this new build, there's a full settings menu in place for graphics and config. The GameCube controller defaults are now fixed. Extra settings have been added to the in-game menu. You can now set your config folder location from inside the front end. And games are automatically loaded from your local cache folder. To sum things up, Dolphin UWP looks better, performs better, is easier to use if you don't have an external hard drive. It's free, it's open source, it's available on GitHub, and I'll drop a link to it in the description below. Feel free to check it out. Moving on, and we're talking about Wine. Wine stands for Wine is not an emulator. At a high level here, it's a translation layer to allow you to use Windows applications on non-Windows operating systems. The most popular thing is Linux and in turn the Steam Deck. And Wine 8.0 just released, and this is a big one. The dev team states this release represents a year of development effort and over 8,600 individual changes. It contains a large number of improvements, and the main achievement is the completion of the conversion to PE format, which stands for Portable Executable. If you are curious about this one and wanted to read up more on it, I'll leave a link to the announcement in the description below and feel free to check it out. There's a lot of interesting stuff in here. For example, force feedback effect support is improved, specifically with driving wheel controllers. And on top of that, there's a number of improvements and optimizations to things like Direct3D and Vulkan. This is a really big release. Next up, we're talking about Nintendo Switch emulation on PC with Yuzu, and Yuzu has been on fire lately, and today is no different. They've got a brand new update. Mainline 1324 brings about the networking improvements we previously talked about. It allows you to connect with IPv6 and host names in Direct Connect LDN menu. And on top of that, Fire Emblem Engage character portraits have been fixed. And on top of that, the paid testing experimental early access version of Yuzu just got a brand new update, version 3349. It implements a brand new feature here, the turbo button. It will spam specific button when it is enabled. The option can be found in configure and control, and then just right click on the button that you wanted to enable turbo. This feature should make its way over into the mainline build, which is the standard build, within a couple of weeks or possibly even sooner. Next up, we're still talking about Switch emulation on PC, but switching over to Ryujinx, and Ryujinx also got a brand new update. Version 1.1.597 has just dropped, and this one is absolutely huge for Apple users. It allows games to run ARM code natively on Apple Silicon using the Apple Silicon Hypervisor framework. Greatly improves performance on Apple Silicon. And not to be outdone, next up we're talking about Nintendo Switch emulation on Android with Skyline. And the paid testing early access version of Skyline Edge just got a brand new release. Here's the changelog for Skyline Edge version 29. I can't believe it's already been 29 versions of this. We've got bug fixes and some very big performance improvements, including one that should fix most textures in OpenGL games. Here's Ninja Gaiden 3 Razer's Edge up and running between 30 to 40 frames per second and looking pretty darn good. There are some graphical issues here, there are some texture issues, but at the same time, this is really impressive. Pokemon Sword and Shield is up and running close to 40 frames per second and looking great. Nobuo managed to get BioShock Remastered up and running. The frame rates here are single to double digit, but at the same time, at least it's up and running. Next up, we're going back a generation, kind of, considering the Switch is a handheld. We're talking about 3DS emulation on PC and Android with Mikage. And we have an interesting update. It appears that Mikage will kind of have access to the Nintendo 3DS eShop. You won't be able to purchase games or download games on it at all, but you will be able to view the games, read the descriptions, see the screenshots, and even watch the videos. And on top of that, it also looks like there's going to be some sort of comment system, so I'm really curious to see how this will be implemented in the emulator. At this point in time, Mikage has not been released to the public. If you see a .apk or .exe file floating around, chances are it's 100% fake. Mikage appears to be a very comprehensive emulator. There's still a lot of work left to do on it before it's actually released. Be patient, and as soon as I know more about it, you'll know more. Next up here, we're talking about something incredibly fun. If you're a fan of Celeste, chances are you're going to be a fan of Classic Celeste. Classic Celeste was previously ported to the PS2, and now it looks like it's on its way to the PSP. And for those who may be unaware, Classic Celeste is 100% free, and it was originally written for the Pico 8, but since then it's been ported to a whole bunch of different systems, including Windows, Mac, and Linux. If you wanted to check this one out, I'll drop a link to it in the description below. Last up here, we've got an update. I would argue a very unfortunate update to the Razer Edge story. Previously, we talked about this one. The Wi-Fi version was advertised as having 8 gigs of RAM. People purchased it, it was delivered, and then they discovered it only had 6 gigs of RAM. Since then, Razer has updated their site to show that it's only got 6 gigs of RAM. On Twitter, the Razer CEO and co-founder said it was a typo mistake on the website. For all those we've shipped to, we've sent an email offering a gift voucher, or they can also choose to return it, no questions asked. Unfortunately, as far as I know, the voucher is for 25 bucks. 25 bucks does not cover 2 gigs of missing RAM. That's a lot more than 25 bucks. On top of that, you have to apply this on Razer's website. So basically, they're giving you $25 off your next purchase, expecting you to pay more money to them for something else. On top of that, it looks like if they wanted to return it, they'll have to pay an additional 15 bucks. Absolutely insane if Razer is not covering this one as well. I really hope they are. I know mistakes happen. I know people and companies aren't perfect, but at the same time here, in my opinion, this apology kind of seems like a slap in the face to anybody who picked up a Wi-Fi version. They're kind of getting screwed in one of 3 different ways. 1, they keep the device and they're shafted of that 2 gigs of RAM they thought they were getting. 2, they send it back and it looks like they have to pay another 15 bucks. Or number 3, they use that gift card. They get 25 bucks off something else, but then have to pay even more money to Razer to pick up another product. I think Razer can do a lot better here, and I think at the very least they should be picking up the return shipping, considering it was Razer's fault in the first place. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.